If power over others is the ultimate and ever-present goal, and clearly technological superiority brings this kind of power, then the progress ideology that assumes linearity change must certainly be right. The African cyclical view of sacred time is characterized by beard, huh? I think it's beard, as the belief in the vicious circle, and has certainly led to powerlessness, or so goes the European argument. See how they will use their argument to present the African cyclical view as primitive, being primitive, because of them presenting technological superiority, right? Bringing that kind of power, right? That's why when they arrive in Africa at the time, those Africans will see them like demigods, because being able to domesticate, to control fire in the form of lighter, or firepower in the term of gun, shoot and somebody drop dead. African had not seen that thing at the time, right? Used that way, like a small thing that the European will hold and then will just kind of shoot, boom, and then fire comes out and then they touch somebody and dead, drop dead. So that was pretty neat, right? So, and the ability to also kind of accurately predict the eclipse and different things like that, which the ancient African will attribute it to being like the communication with the gods and stuff like that. So they brought that kind of thing to perpetrate their silly, their superiority, and were able to control those Africans. So but I like what she says down there, the paragraph at the bottom, at the bottom of the page. She said, once progress becomes ideology, once it becomes incorporated into the presupposed matter of culture, there is no way out. So here I kind of understand that she's trying to say a progress for progress is not bad. It's something we should all embrace. But once progress becomes ideology, when it becomes something to impose on people as being the only way of being, then it becomes a problem. So and then when you go to page 497, where Montagu says there, Montagu, that block quotation, says cultures differ from one another in the kind of development they have realized. This does not mean that any culture is incapable of realizing or achieving the same degree of development as any other culture, but merely that most cultures have not had the same or similar opportunities to do so, and largely for that reason differ culturally from one another. So this is pretty deep. So how do you understand this quote? Okay, so the quote, because when we talk, and then I was giving you the example of America presenting itself as the greatest nation the world has ever known, and I told you that if you contextualize that, it will be relative, because every empire was the greatest the world had never known in their own context. You understand what I mean? In their own reality, in their own context. You cannot compare America reality of today with Roman reality of the Roman time. It's not comparable. Things are different. So yeah, so you will not take away anything from the power of the Roman at the time, where they were also the power that the world had never seen, or the power that came before them. So everything is pretty relative and contextual. So this is what Montagu is trying to also signal with this quote here, when he says cultures differ from one another. Because you can't just bring in the European culture and present it to other culture as I told you the other time when we met, I call it the master culture, right? Yeah, that every other culture must bow down to, because that is the culture that everyone must follow, because it's the most advanced, it's the most progressive, it's the most developed, it's most civilized, it's the most XYZ. So therefore every other culture must follow that. That makes it a master culture, and that is not true, and that is not right, because that is a culture that right, that with cultures differ from one another in the kind of development they have realized. So one culture realizes a development, another culture realizes another kind of development, they will be different. So don't measure them on the same using a unique standard, on the same standard. So because they're different. So this does not mean that any culture is incapable of realizing or achieving the same degree of development as other culture, but merely that most cultures have not had the same or similar opportunities to do so, and largely for that reason differ culturally from one another. You understand, right? So what do you think about this? Yes, and it's very condescending too, because they might not have had the same opportunity like we in Europe have. If we give them that opportunity, they might turn out to also be an evolved culture, just like we are. But we are just like we have the opportunity, but they don't. So we cannot say we're superior to them because they do not have the opportunity that we do. So this is pretty condescending, and this is and for me is the main thing here. Why I feel the way I feel about San Francisco or even New York and all those progressive cities is because the difference, like Malcolm X said, between liberals and conservative is the same as the difference between the wolf and the fox. In 1961 or 60 something, he had an interview with a Berkeley University there, where they asked him that a white liberal was trying to challenge him that he should embrace white liberal because they are supporting his fight. That is the conservative who were racist and all that. And he was telling, no, back off of me. No, you are not any different from conservative. You just pretend to be nice in my face here and all that, but you have an agenda. The only difference between you, the liberal, the white liberal, and the white conservative is the same difference that exists between a fox and a wolf. The fox tells the sheep, the lamb, I am your friend. Come plays with the herd of lambs and sheep, plays with them and hide among them, and they have nothing to fear. The fox acts all friendly and all that. At the end of the day, the lamb will be the one ending on the plate of the fox. At the end of the day, the fox will use that ruse strategy to eat the lamb, because the lamb dropped its guard and became vulnerable because it started trusting a lying, So, but the wolf is pretty straightforward with the lamb. I'm not your friend. I want to eat you. So then the lamb protect itself. Every time the lamb sees the fox would run away. Like, no, this fox is not playing games. It's the same thing that differentiate the coast in America. It's very difficult to live on the West Coast. It's easier for me to live on the East Coast, even though I've never lived on the East Coast. But I studied these two coasts, and there are documentaries that show that the mentality is different. On the East Coast, I was in Atlanta, I was in New York, I was all through the East Coast there, Baltimore, all those places I visited. People are straightforward. They tell you what they think. They do not pretend. They're pretty clear. I don't like you, and I tell you that clearly. You know where I stand, I know where you stand. So we have our space and we operate that way. You cannot say the same in San Francisco, or Washington State, or Oregon, or all the West Coast states, especially Bay Area. So that's what Malcolm X was saying to them. Like, no, because you won the votes. You went down south to fight for the black there down there because you knew that doing it will make sure that these people will be owing you forever and will be giving you their vote all the time. That was your hidden agenda, pretending you were fighting for this and that. So that for me is what I see here in terms of what Montague is trying to say. He's trying to play the liberal card, where, well, we cannot present ourselves as the master culture because every culture is equal. If they're not developed like us, it's just because they were not given the opportunity, but we can't really, say that they're not as blah, 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 blah. That is what she's trying to point out, right? She says Montague's apology for primitive, because he's apologizing for primitive culture. Again, presenting themselves as the white savior. We're here to defend the rights of the minority who have no voice when they have their own agenda, right? So primitive culture assumes, she says, assumes the European concept of progress, meaning we must not even challenge what progress is. We must take it for granted, the way the European define progress. You see the first fallacy there. That's the first fallacy. She says his apology for primitive culture assumes the European concept of progress. That is the baseline. That's where we start. When we are not even agreeing on what progress is, but we are already supposed to assume that progress is what the Europeans tell us it is, and then move from there and explain now why we're not as progressive as they are, as developed as they are. You see, we already are, the starting line is already biased from the beginning, because they're already giving us a concept, a definition that they define themselves.